All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Callie. I am the rehab manager here at the Power Gym. Today we have Sarah Rice leading us through some restorative yoga and also talking about the benefits of restorative yoga for people with Parkinson's. If you can, please keep yourself muted while she's speaking. We'll make sure there's time at the end for questions. If you need to put anything into the chat, I will be monitoring that. But otherwise, I'm going to hand it over to her so we can get started. Yeah, and then ask them for another sound check if you don't mind.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay? All right, excellent. Welcome everybody on Zoom and everybody here in the Power Gym. My name is Sarah Rice. I am a physical therapist assistant here at the gym and also a registered yoga instructor, yogi by lifestyle, yogi by trade. And I'm here to talk to you today about restorative yoga, which is very different than your asana-based practice or your movement or your active-based postures. This is all about relaxation and finding that relaxation through support, using our props, using our bolsters. So I want you to think about it less as a stretching activity and more about an opening, right? We're opening, we're decreasing our muscle tension, decreasing muscle rigidity by getting supported in these postures. It's a form of yoga that seeks to achieve physical and mental, emotional relaxation with the aid of props. That is the restorative yoga definition. But what it's really doing is reducing our stress from everyday life, from chronic disease. And in doing so, being able to manage our stress, we're in turn decreasing our vulnerability to stress-related illness. Hello, Sharon, welcome.
Do you want to go ahead and share your screen?
Oh, I thought I was. Yes. And so this goes over just a little bit of the definition. And, it really targets muscle tension rigidity. It's great for insomnia. If you're finding that you're having a night that you're really not sleeping well and you're having a hard time getting back down, getting into some of these postures and working on the breathing is going to be really, really crucial to help that. And the breath work is something else that's going to come into play here. So it's really just laying down, relaxing, and breathing. The teacher that I took this class with when I originally went through the certification and said something, and I had to put it in here, that slowing down is the same thing as waking up. And I'm going to say that again because I really want that to land. Slowing down is the same thing as waking up. So it's these moments where we're getting ourselves into the relaxed postures where we can really increase our body awareness and really see how our body is interfacing with the world, be it the mat, be it the chair, be it the ground. But if we can increase that body awareness, we can really move forward in our practice. Is it not showing on the?
It looks like this on here.
Oh, it's showing the presenter notes.
Yeah.
I think I might be able to take those out.
Oh, you might be able to swap it.
How's that? Nope, that's not it.
You might have been able to, I wonder if we can swap it out. Where's the- Do you have any sound or anything?
No.
There we go.
And then can you go back to Zoom and share screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Technical pause.
Always so fun.
This is a good time to mention that relaxation is just as important as activity. Because it's in those relaxation moments, even moments like this where we can just take a moment and pause, that we really start to regenerate and restore, right? In those little pause points of our life.
What do they see?
It looks
Well,
like, yeah.
Oh.
It works like 2 seconds ago.
I know. There. Okay. Can you do that? There. Easy. Oh, display setting. I know.
It's working.
Oh, yay.
Yay, we're back in business.
Now they'll see that, but you'll see that. So
Perfect.
that should be great. Oh,
Okay.
good. You can see that too.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Little technical difficulty, but no problem. It's yoga. So we just shake it off and move right on, right? So some of the benefits of restorative yoga, aside from achieving relaxation, which is pretty hard to do in these stressful times, but you're reducing cortisol, and that's our stress hormone, right? That's that hormone that keeps us in that constant fight or flight mode, that hypervigilance. And so yoga is one of those practices that will help turn that off a little bit and let your body recognize if this is a real threat or if this is something I just need to breathe out and move on from. Reduces muscle tension and rigidity, boosts the immunity, improves digestion and elimination. And we know that this is a key component of a big physiological issue with Parkinson's disease. Increasing the body awareness. If we know how to make what's going on, we know how to make the change. Stimulates your lymphatic system, increases mental acuity, and decreases brain arousal. And you're like, do I want to decrease my brain arousal? Like, I'm not sure if that's what I'm in for. But what it's talking about is that monkey mind, right? When we're ruminating, when we've got those perpetuating thoughts that we just can't quite tune out of, that's where this restorative practice will come into play. It will just decrease that overstimulation that we tend to get. And it cultivates patience. So I was talking a little bit about the pranayama that we use when you're in these postures. And we're going to go into a restorative practice after we're finished with the slides, which won't be very long. But a centering breath or some breath work is required because it's really about you being your body supported and tuning into your breath. Now, the centering breath, you've done this before, you've heard of it before. It's also known as box breathing. Let's all try it together, in fact. There's no better way to do it than to just experience it, right? So let yourself sit back comfortably in a chair. Your back can be supported by the back of the chair. Don't feel like you have to sit upright, where this is all about letting go of tension. Let your feet be flat on the ground. I like to keep my hands on my thighs because I find that to be very comfortable for my shoulders. You can take it or leave it. If you're more comfortable with the arms hanging by your sides, please try it. Let your eyes be closed. If it's not comfortable closing your eyes, just simply cast your gaze down to maybe 2 to 3 feet in front of your feet, down to the ground. And let's start to take an inhale through the nose and count the beats of your inhalation to 4. Notice the air filling the lungs. Hold the breath at the top, and then let's slowly exhale out of the mouth for 4 beats. Let's try that again. Inhaling, counting up to 4, taking a pause, and exhaling for 4. Can you already feel that self-regulation, that heart rate decreasing, the body melting in a little bit deeper to your seat? Connecting yourself to your breath, to which we are inextricably linked. There is no disconnect there. Going through one more round of the box breathing, inhaling to 4, a little pause at the top. And this time, as you exhale, try to extend that exhale by just 2 beats. Notice how that forces a little bit of a deeper inhale. And then we let it go. Just like everything in yoga, you just let it go, let your breath come back to normal, and just notice how your body is feeling. Do you feel a little bit more relaxed in the chair? Heart rate is nice and low. Look how fast we were able to affect that. It's pretty incredible. 4 rounds of box breathing, and you can significantly decrease your heart rate. And if we can go from a place of an elevated heart rate to a low heart rate in a short amount of time, that's fitness, right? That's fitness, people. And using our breath to make it happen is just a really effective way of doing it for not only increasing your fitness, but managing your stress, staying at peace. I set a timer when I'm doing a lot of these breathing exercises. I find that counting the rounds of my breath gets a little distracting, and it takes me a few rounds to get into the deeper breathing. So if you've got an egg timer around, a timer on your watch, set it for 5 minutes and just let it cycle and use a timer. In fact, we'll use a timer quite a bit in restorative yoga. It's a good way, again, to decrease that brain arousal. You don't have to worry about counting or how long you've been holding the pose. Something else is doing it for you. So props. We use a lot of props in restorative yoga. I mean, a lot of props. We'll typically use blankets, yoga mats, blocks, bolsters, cushions, pillows, really anything squishy and cushy that you have in hand. I don't have any socks on now, but I typically like to practice in my socks. You want to keep your feet warm, right? And if you tend to get a little chilly, it's nice to be able to pull a blanket over your body. But for this presentation, we really will need nothing more than a mat and a couple of bolsters. I'm going to show you how to get it done with a minimal amount of equipment. But comfort is key. So make sure that you're setting up the props to make yourself as comfortable as you possibly can. Okay. If you find that, and we're going to help you get settled into it. If you find that we get into a pose and you're not quite comfortable, raise a hand and let us know. Better is better. So if we can make you 10% more comfortable, we're going to do that with any kind of props and bolstering. And they really do allow you to be supported and still relax. If you're doing this at home, I would set it up in a space where you can really create a sacred space and cultivate some relaxation. Close the door, just let the people in your house know I'm not to be disturbed for 15, 20 minutes, and just go with it. Unapologetically, I might say. You can listen to music, you can turn on aromatherapy, anything that's going to help you get into that relaxed space. This is, I want you to make this your practice. There are no rules here aside from comfort and breathing. One more rule. I'm going to throw one more rule at you. Really just a guideline. If you have no other props, if you're only working with a blanket, then the most important thing to support is your neck. And if you take your hand and you feel down the back of the neck, you feel that bony prominence kind of down at the base of the neck where it meets our trunk. Now that's our C7 T1 prominence. And we really want to have that area supported. So by blanket, by block, just make sure you've got your head supported when we lie down on the ground or in any position really, because I want to keep you out of going into overextension. We're going into our first pose. So this first one is supported. I'm facing sideways just so you can see how I'm setting up. And I've got a chair in front of me. If you're at home and you're in front of a desk, you know, that would be an appropriate height. This is the one toes that we're going to play with in our chairs today, and then we're going to make our way down to the ground. So again, I'm setting up so this is pretty close to my body, and I'm taking the bolster. This could be a bolster, this could be a rolled up yoga mat, this could be a towel roll, whatever you have at home that is available, that is what we're using. And I'm bringing it again pretty close to my body. So I've got that bolster between my legs, and we're going to play with our placement of the hips depending on how it feels. So just using one bolster, I'm going to bring my hands to either side of that bolster on the chair seat and start to lower yourself down until that chest is on the bolster, and we're going to kind of wrap our arms around it and just simply lay your head down onto the bolster. Now, if you're down and you feel like I'm standing on my head here, my head is way lower than my hips, we can build that up a little bit. Do you need a little more prop, Sharon? Yeah. Everybody else, if we're starting to settle in, just let the body weight rest against that bolster blanket. Let your head rest. And I want you to slowly start to deepen that breath. Feel the way your chest and your abdomen expands against that roll underneath your sternum. And we're going to go into that box breathing. Now, this is a pose we're going to stay in for about 3 minutes. So let your eyes be closed. And slowly start to deepen that breath, inhaling to the count of 4. Pause and exhale for 4. Each inhale and exhale, letting your body sink a little further into that bolster, feeling completely supported. Letting the muscles of the low back and the hips release. Inhaling, exhaling, make sure that your feet are flat on the ground. Now that you've been here a minute, just taking the time to make any adjustments that you might need. Continue with that box breathing for about 2 more rounds. If you find that your neck is feeling a little uncomfortable, simply turn it the other direction. Releasing that deeper breathing if you haven't already, and just let your breath come back to its normal rhythm. Let the body be heavy. And just as we take the time and the care to set up our props to support us optimally, we take time to come out of the poses as well. You've been kind of holding these poses, a low load, long duration. You really want to take it slow. So I'm going to first bring my hands back down to the chair seat, kind of in line, back in line with my shoulders. I'm going to let my head rotate back to center and then gently push back up to seated. Taking a moment, just as we come back up to roll those shoulders, you might have a little bit of dizziness. And so that was the first pose, this supported child's pose. It's a quiet practice. You really have to let your body relax into it. And holy monkey mind, I don't know about anybody else, but I lay down on that bolster and I'm like, oh my gosh, am I here? How long has it been? What is going on? Is everybody else still down? Are we comfortable? It's easy to let those thoughts get away from you. Bring it back to the breath. This is all about relaxing and just letting your body be heavy. Okay. How did that feel for everybody? Yeah.
Stop sharing. You need to know.
I can give a little
see it
switch.
together.
Yeah, I've got a couple other pictures.
I just didn't know if they needed to see the pictures.
They can see both.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
didn't know if they could see both.
Can they see both? Okay. Okay. How did that feel for everybody at home?
Thumbs up. You're getting
Thumbs
thumbs
up.
ups.
It's really nice kind of melting into things. We're going to go even further now. And we're going to take the time to set it up. We're only going to be using one of our chairs. Got that one in front of you. Now let's get our mat down to the ground.
Do you want me to change it to the next picture?
That would be great. You want to lay your mat out next to, yes, the side of the chair, so that's perfect. And just ensuring that the two legs are on the mat, just so it doesn't slide around a little bit. I want that to be safe, to be security. And there's no rush transitioning from these poses, right? Again, we're taking time. We're taking time. We're being mindful about our setup, about our body position. Keep your bolster, your rolled up mat, or your yoga block or blanket close to you. In fact, I'm just going to set it on the back of the chair. We're coming down. So we're using the chairs just to come down to the ground. Ultimately, our head is going to be at the opposite end of the mat and our feet are going to be pointed at the chairs.
I don't know. Would you prefer the chair at the front over here so that they can see you? Because
It's going to matter.
good.
I don't think it's going to matter. The beautiful thing about this, once we're in the pose, we're in the pose. You don't have to move. There's no transitioning from spot to spot. So I'm going to put my hands on that chair seat and take a knee and just slowly come on down to my seat. My feet are going to be pointed at the chair. I've got the bolster kind of back behind me. And we're going to use that bolster or the blanket under head. I want you to see how that feels on your head and neck. Does that feel supported? If so, stay right there. If that feels a little too tall, you can take that bolster away and just let the head rest on the mat. If you find that once you get down on your back and you lay your head down, if you feel like you're standing on your head, if your chin is pointed up towards the ceiling and you're like, this feels like an inversion. Nice. Nice. Everybody's at home is getting settled. Comfort is key. Let your legs extend, or the feet can be flat on the mat with your knees bent, depending on how your low back is feeling. This is all about comfort. So if you're having any pain there, that's a good place to modify and bend your knees like I'm doing here. And sometimes once we lay down on the mat, we need to kind of slowly progress down. So if you need to keep those knees bent, that's okay. I'm going to slowly let those legs extend, and we're just going to see how our body is settling into the mat. Without any props, I want you to just observe how your head is touching the mat or the prop. Are both of your shoulders lying back? Is one shoulder a little more elevated than the other? Check out the hips. Are the hips even? Do you feel a large arch in the low back? Do you feel the backs of the knees touching the mat? Just find that comfortable place and just pause here for a moment. Since it's our first posture down on the mat, we are going to do a little bit of active stretching before we go into our restorative pose. Let's bring both knees in towards the chest. Give yourself a nice big hug. Keep that right knee in towards your chest and let your left leg float down to the mat. Keep the toes of the left foot flexed up towards the ceiling. Hold that right knee in towards your right shoulder. Let's extend that left arm up and overhead, reaching through the fingers of the left hand and the heel of the left foot. Reach through those fingers of your left hand and in the heel of your left foot. So you're getting a stretch through the entire left side body. Hold for one more breath. Then let's inhale, exhale, hug both knees back in towards the chest. And on the next exhale, let that right leg drift down to the mat. Hugging that left knee in towards your left shoulder. On the next in-breath, sweep that right arm up and overhead. Reach through those fingers of the right hand and the heel of the right foot. Big stretch down that right side body. Inhale, exhale, release it. Hug both knees back in. Let the feet come down to the mat. And let those knees fall away from each other with the bottoms of the feet coming together. Arms are going to go down by the side. Take a nice deep breath. And then as we inhale, keep that tummy tight. We're going to give those knees a little lift so they're pointed back at that ceiling. And let's extend those legs. And again, we're just noticing how our body is interfacing with the floor. See how you're feeling. This is where we cultivate that awareness. Tuck the chin slightly. That head is supported by the bolster. Tuck the chin. And continue with that deeper breath. One more round of breathing, and then we're going to go into another relaxation pose. Let's get a hold of those blankets. Get a hold of your bolsters. Now we're going to tuck them underneath our knees. And it might need some adjusting. You know, where at first, when I kind of adjust it and put it in place underneath my knee and lay back, I don't know that I love it where it kind of lands in place. So you can kind of use your feet to adjust that bolster, get it in a happy place underneath those knees. So your legs feel supported. Maybe notice how the low back releases into that mat a little bit more. Let the arms go out by the sides. Palms can be up or down, whatever is most comfortable. And you're going to let your eyes be closed. We're going to sink into our supported relaxation pose now. Start to deepen that breath, going back into our box breathing. In each inhale and exhale, let your body sink a little bit further into the mat below. Let the knees rest against the back of the bolster. Just lean into your props. I used to have a teacher that would say, let the muscles relax from the bones. And that sounds kind of silly until you can get it to happen, and then it's pretty amazing. Each inhale and exhale, sinking a little deeper into that mat. Your mind begins to wander, bring it back to that breath, bring it back to the count. Letting the box breathing go if you haven't already, just letting the breath return to normal. It's still sinking deeper with each exhale further into that mat. It's bringing the awareness to the rise and the fall of the belly. And let's once more begin to deepen that breathing, going back to our box count. 4 beats on the inhale, pause at the top, and 4 beats on the exhale. Continue with that box breath for 2 more rounds. And keeping the eyes closed, let's begin to invite a little bit of movement into the fingers and the toes, rolling the wrists and the ankles. Let the eyes open up. And I'm going to step my feet up to the mat, let my knees be bent. Just getting grounded again, very gently. I'm going to roll onto my right side, just letting my legs rest onto that bolster. And just pausing for a moment on your right side, taking a couple of nice deep breaths, slowly transitioning from our backs to seated. I'm going to let my left hand come in line with my shoulder and extend my left leg, and I'm pushing that ground away for me to come up to seated. Just letting that bolster be off to the side, however comfortable you are, whatever is your most comfortable seated position, and just take a moment, let yourself relax. Just coming out of it takes a moment. Supported relaxation pose. Why would you ever go back to just flat ground, right? So it's a great way to support your knees and just give the low back a little bit of a release. It's an excellent way for having any discomfort in the lower back to give it a little bit of a break. And it also just lets your body get a little bit flatter against the mat, which is really what we're looking for. We're trying to just decrease that tension and let you melt into the mat below. Our bolster now is going to come to the top of our mat. And this one, if you need any help getting into it, please take your time. If it doesn't feel right when we're there, we're going to come out of it. But I'm bringing that bolster, snuggling it right up to my sacrum. I'm keeping my knees bent for that support, and I'm going to bring my hands down by my sides. Tummy tight. We're going to slowly lower that body down onto that bolster. Head supported. Slight tuck of the chin. And then let the arms come out to the sides. Palms can be up. This is called mountain brook pose. And you can kind of see how it would be a mountain brook. Your little hips or the water overflowing, a little waterfall. Once you've settled in, let's once more begin to deepen that breath, coming into our box breathing. You might notice or feel a little bit more stretch in through the chest and through the pectoral muscles as you take that deeper breath. If you want to see what it feels like to let the legs be straight, I invite you to try it. See what you like better. Let's continue with that deeper breathing. Each exhale, melt into that bolster. Just let it support your body. I think you'll find when you try to relax, we're holding a lot of tension. When we've got something to completely support us, we don't need to hold ourselves up. Restorative yoga is so much about surrender and release. We'll release the deeper breathing now and just let your breath come back to normal. We're going to continue for 5 more rounds of just your perfect, beautiful breath. Let's take that breath deeper once more. Counting the beats of the inhale and counting the beats of the exhale. 2 more rounds of that deeper boxed breathing. And this is a pose that we don't hold quite as long as the others. Let's begin to invite a little bit of movement back into those fingers and toes. 1 foot at a time, I'm going to step it back up to the mat. And our out is a very gentle rolling back onto your right side off of the bolster and just coming to a pause for a moment. Take a few nice deep breaths, just laying on your side. Just as we were talking earlier about, these relaxation postures, or just relaxing in general, is a really good time to regenerate and restore. These pause points in our practice, this is where we really reap the benefits of the pose that we just did. But let's not stay here too long because we'll get sleepy. Bring that left hand in line with the shoulders, extend that left leg. We're going to come back up to seated. Are we feeling relaxed? I love that mountain book pose because when I first get in it, I'm like, how is this relaxing? Who told you that this is relaxing? And then a few breaths into it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of nice. I like that little stretching through those hips. Okay, for our next one, let me do a little switch over for our slide. This is just an example of a little flow that you can do, and I'm happy to send this along with you. We're only going to take a couple of these postures and put them into play. The first one is going to be a child's pose, but now we're going to be down on the ground. This one's actually not shown in picture, but I'm bringing either the mat or the bolster, and you're going to kind of straddle it, right? And I'm going to sit back on it, just like I would be sitting back on my heels. We're creating a little bit more space in between the knees. You might find that it's a little bit more comfortable. If you have that additional cushion, that magic pillow nearby, get a hold of it and let's place it in front of our bolsters. If at home, bring a pillow from the sofa, a bed pillow, fold it over twice is going to be very effective for this. And take your time setting up, right? This is not something that we rush through. We're very mindful when we set these positions up, set up the postures. This is one that we're going to hold for a little bit. Child's pose, any of the forward flexion yoga postures are very calming. These are soothing. These are self-regulating poses. So we're going to throw our time on. Slowly start to come down, ease it down. And when you're here, you can rest the head on the hands. You can turn the head, let the hands come down by the floor. And play with it. Take a moment and play with it. See where you like your hands positioned. Do you want them next to you? Do you want to maybe rest the head on the hands? See what way it feels best to turn the head. And then once you've found it, settle in. Settle in. We're going to quiet the body, quiet the mind. And let's start to deepen the breathing. Again, coming back to our 4-count inhale. Now let's extend that exhale. Let's take it to a 5 or a 6 count. Really feeling that belly button fall back towards the spine on the exhale. And melt. Give into gravity. Let yourself melt into the bolster, into the pillow. Feel the abdomen and the chest push against the bolster and the pillow. Feel that resistance. Release the box breathing if you haven't already, and just coming back down to your normal breath. Mind wanders, come back to that inhale and the exhale. And we'll start to take that breathing a little deeper, coming back to our box breath. Extending that exhale now longer than the inhale. Continuing for about one more round of that deeper breath before we start moving towards our out. And since our head has been turned, I'm just going to bring my head back to a neutral position for a moment. Or slowly using my arms to bring me back up. Just taking the time, moving slowly, rolling the shoulders out. One of the reasons that we bring in this child's pose after the mountain broke is you always want to counter that bending forward or bending back with a bending forward. So, we want to make sure that we get a nice counter pose in there. That by far is probably one of the most relaxing restorative poses that you can possibly do, which we love. We're going to push those, if you have a pillow in front of the bolster, we're going to push that out of the way now. Slide the bolster out and let's bring it off to the right side of the mat. We're coming down to your belly. Dropping down to forearms. I'm going to walk my knees back. And just like we did when we were first lying down on our back, just take a moment, get down on that belly. Keep the bolster is going to be off on your right side and just simply rest that head on the hands. Just seeing how it feels being on your tummy, all the way on the tummy. Feel the diaphragm expanding against the yoga mat. Feel that little bit of resistance. And then we're going to bring our bolster, rolled up yoga mat, pillow, whatever you may be working with. I'm going to bring that down. I'm going to kind of roll over onto my left side a little bit. I'm bringing the bolster kind of down in line with my leg. So I can bring my knee and my entire lower leg onto that bolster. And then I'm going to lay back down on the belly, kind of keeping that knee propped up to the side. How does that feel? Awkward. Maybe a little awkward. This is a great hip opener. Being able to relax into this stretch really targets the muscles that are surrounding the hip. It's a nice way to create a little space and through that lumbar spine. If you're having any discomfort in the back, simply come off the bolster and let the leg be straight. We're going to keep that head rested on the hands. Forehead can be down on the hands or your cheek, whatever feels best on your neck. We're going to be here for about 3 minutes. So really let yourself relax into it. Just give the bolster or the pillow the weight of your leg. And let your body melt. Let's take that breathing a little bit deeper. 4 counts of the inhale and extend the exhale by 1 to 2 counts. Be aware of when you take that inhale, how your belly is pushing against the mat. You can feel your back body lift. Releasing the boxed breathing if you haven't already, and just letting your breath come back to its normal rhythm. Let's once more begin to deepen that breath. Coming back to our count of the inhale and the exhale. This is one that's great for digestion. You might even find that your tummy starts talking to you with your inhale and exhales. Let's start to consider our out. We're going to roll that bolster out from underneath the knee. And that leg can remain bent for a moment. We can keep it there, or the leg can be straight, whatever feels best on your body. I invite you to find whatever position you're most comfortable in. And we're going to pause here for 1 more minute, just taking some nice deep breaths. Slowly letting those hips unwind. If you haven't straightened out your leg yet, please do so now. And start to get a little bit of movement into those feet. Start to shift those hips around. We're going to bring those hands in line with the shoulders. And on the next inhale, let's tighten up that tummy and take it into an all fours position. We're going to do just a little bit of cat-cow to make sure that we're staying loose. So hands can be down on the ground. Miss Sharon, I love that, in a little happy puppy position. And let's go through a little bit of cat-cow. So round that back out, let the gaze go down towards the belly button. And then as you inhale, look forward and arch that back. Exhale, rounding out. Inhale, arching the back. Just very gentle, active postures. Last one. And I'm just going to walk my knees back once more so I can come back down to my belly. We're going to bring our bolster to our other side. I'm going to turn around so my back isn't facing the camera. I'm just taking the moment to get set up. Finding that happy place. And then letting yourself relax into it. And once you get there, if you need to make any adjustments to make yourself a little bit more comfortable, please do so. And just maybe making a little mental note about maybe which side feels a little more restricted. And as you settle in, let's start to deepen that breath. Inhaling for 4. And let's exhale for 6. Each exhale, letting go a little bit further. Just let go, release. We're on the ground. There's nowhere to go, nowhere to be. Carry on with that box breathing for a few more rounds. And releasing that deeper breath, just letting it come back to normal.
Let's take it deeper once more. Just a few more rounds of that boxed breathing. We're going to roll that bolster away from the body. Let yourself come back to flat ground. We're going to stay here for another minute. Keep that nice deep breaths going. Your leg is still bent. Go ahead and straighten it out at this time. Maybe let the forehead rest on the hands. Let the neck be neutral. Let's pause here for a few more rounds of breath. And start to invite a little bit of movement into those fingers and toes and ankles and wrists. I'm going to bring those hands once more in line with my shoulders. Tighten up that tummy and we'll take it back into all fours. Or it's, moving from that position, Sharon, staying on those forearms. And we've got options here. So we can run through a little bit of cat-cow. Or you can sink those hips back and let the arms extend in front of you into a child's pose. Whatever you feel like your body needs, whatever feels best on your body. Take some nice deep breaths here. Feel that abdomen expanding against your thighs. Inhale, we'll slowly come up. And we're just going to have a seat once more on our mat. How are we feeling, everybody? Like ready to go to bed, right? I mean, it's so relaxing. I mean, what I notice most whenever I do a restorative yoga pose is how much tension I'm holding in my body at rest. When I lay down and get supported, I'm still like holding myself up for no reason. I'm on the ground. Like the ground is there to support us. There's nowhere else to go but to relax. And I still hold that tension. And I find that I do that when I'm falling asleep at night as well. So I want you to notice, as you move into this evening and as you start to make your way to bed, just notice if the muscles don't relax a little bit faster, if you don't notice just a drop in tension when you lie down. Okay, so I've got this bolster once more positioned kind of underneath my knees, bolster, blanket, mat, all interchangeable. And we're going to come back down to lie on our backs. And now I'm going to walk my feet onto my bolster. And we might need to move it, roll it out, roll it in, depending on the position. I should also say that getting into these postures, it shouldn't be graceful, right? I mean, it's a moment, we are getting into the posture, but it's kind of hard to get into some of them. But that's that mindfulness, that's the part of the practice where we also get the benefits. We're maneuvering our bodies in a way that we otherwise wouldn't normally be doing. Let the bottoms of the feet come together and let the knees fall out to the side. And let the arms go by the side. Let the palms be up, chin slightly tucked. And we're going to begin to deepen that breath once more. Taking that exhale slightly longer than the inhale. Bringing the awareness to the belly and the chest expanding on the in-breath. And the fall of the belly and the chest on the exhale, on the out-breath. Make any micro adjustments that you need to become even 10% more comfortable. And releasing the deeper breathing, the box breath, if you haven't already, come back to your rhythm. And bringing that awareness back to the breath, let's deepen it up. Nice deep inhale. Feel the chest and the belly expand. And I want to hear you exhale. I want to hear that forced breath. Our coming out of this pose, it's going to be a little different than our other ones. Let's bring our hands down to the outside of our legs. And on the inhale, tighten up that tummy. Give those knees a little help back up. Keep the feet on the bolster for a minute. Hug both knees in towards your chest. It's a good time if we want to do some knee circles, inhaling as the knees move away from the body, exhaling as we draw the knees in towards the chest. The knees can be together, the knees can be apart. Whatever you feel like your body needs at this time. Our final pose is going to be one of the first ones that we started with, coming back into that supported relaxation pose, letting the legs extend over that bolster, knees supported. Feel a lot of contact with the back body against the mat. Feel yourself melting into it. Let the hands be by the sides, palms up. As we close our restorative practice today, we're going to do our breath, finish with a little bit of a different breath than what we've been using throughout our practice. So let the eyes be closed, let the body be heavy. Just let yourself melt into the mat beneath you. Feel the back of the legs against the bolsters. And let's take that breath. Let's start to deepen it up, inhaling through the nose, exhaling out of the mouth. Just getting back to that deeper rhythm. And I'm going to take you through just a little meditation exercise that I invite you to try tonight when you're trying to fall asleep. We're going to count backwards from 11. Inhaling 11. Exhaling 11. Inhaling 10. Exhaling 10. And I want you to continue this way all the way down to 0. If you lose count, just begin again at 11. And releasing the counting if you haven't already. I'm going to finish with a little Yoga Nidra meditation. We can release that deeper breath and let your breath come back to normal. Then we're going to work on a little body awareness. I want you to be aware of, feel the back of your head against the mat. Notice your right and left ear, right and left eye. Be aware of the hollowness in your cheeks, your right and left cheek. Bring that awareness, send it down into the neck, into the shoulders. Notice how your right and your left shoulder are feeling against that mat. Bringing the awareness down to the right and left elbow, the wrists, the fingers. Notice some warmth in the palm of your hand. Imagine there's a glowing orb of white light in the palms of your hands. Feel that warmth. Then we'll continue with that awareness coming down into the spine, the low back and hips, tops in the back of the thighs, fronts in the back of the knees, calves, shins, heels, feet, toes. It's completely surrendering to the mat beneath you. Let's begin to deepen that breath once more. Taking a nice big inhale through the nose, exhaling out of the mouth. Big sigh for an exhale. Inhaling deeply, exhaling fully. Continue that way for 2 more rounds. Feel your body lying heavy in the mat. Let's start to bring those awareness back to the fingers and the toes. Maybe starting to roll the wrists and the ankles. Bring the feet back up to the bolster, let the knees be bent. There's no rush. Plenty of time. Maybe let the arms go out into a T position. And with the feet supported by the bolsters, let the knees go to the right side and let your head go to the left. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, knees to the left, head to the right. Just gently moving from side to side, moving with the rhythm of your breath. So one more round to each side. Before finding that neutral place, hug those knees back into your chest. Give yourself a nice big hug. I'm going to let my feet come back to the bolster. And just very gently roll onto my right side. And I'm just going to hang there for a minute. Going out is just as important as going in. And only as you're ready, bringing that left hand down, extending the left leg, and slowly coming back up to seated. And whatever seated looks like for you, the legs can be in front of you, they can be crossed, whatever feels good. Just take your time, kind of acclimate back to the real world. The lights might seem a little bit brighter. Body feels a little more like Jell-O. So that was a really good series of 4, maybe 5 postures when you count the one that we did on both sides. But can you feel just the way your body just feels like mush? Is that not amazing? I invite you this evening to try that breath and that count. I don't know if anybody else, did anybody get to 0 when they were counting backwards from 11? Right? Did anybody on Zoom get to 0? I'm going to tell you something. I've never gotten to 0. So anytime I've had one of those insomniac bouts when I can't sleep, try that breathing exercise. You'll end up starting right back at 11. You'll never get down to 0. It's the most amazing thing. But also works well for yoga. Exactly, Liz. Liz is yawning. So that means it was a good session. I wanted to leave a little bit of time for any questions, to see if anybody had any questions, comments, see how everyone was feeling at home.
That's great.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for joining. It's hard to get the body and brain to quiet down. But that's what we use these bolsters for, people. That's what these are for. If anybody would like any handouts, I'll happily create some and email them to you. But these are some poses. If you're having a day where you can't relax, or just a lot of tension, if you're having a lot of stress going on, or if you can't sleep, try some of these postures. It's amazing what bringing your awareness to your breath and staying in these poses for a little bit of a longer time will do for your stress. Anybody have any questions? I was going to say, it's not easy.
Sweating down the green.
When I did this training, half the class, we did it at a yoga retreat, and you just end up snoring. Like the whole class ends up snoring. Every once in a while you get like a little snort, kind of cough, wake up. But that's kind of the point. And as any yogi will tell you, if you fall asleep during a yoga class, you clearly needed it. So it's okay.
You can just thank everyone.
Well,
for
thank you,
attending.
everyone for joining, and everyone for joining at home.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
This is just another wonderful form of yoga that is available in your toolbox. So please use it.